Okay, what haven't I covered, guys? What haven't I covered? How did I do the audio timing track? Okay, so there's two ways that you can do it. One is when you're creating a new sequence, you can do it. I'll show you that in a second. If you've already created a sequence and you want to create a new timing track, I assume you mean the timing track which had all the bars, right? All the beats, yeah? So what you do is you go up to your sequence settings, come over here to the timings tab, and you click on new, and you choose the type of timing track you'd like to create. Given this is a 50 millisecond, I can just go and create a timing point for every 50 milliseconds. That gets a little silly. It's obviously an awful lot of timing marks, but you can do it. Also, when you're creating the sequence, we selected the frame rate, and then again you can come over to timings, select new, choose beats, or maybe bars. Where's bars gone? Bars. Why can't I see bars? Beat count, estimate key. Where's bars? Oh, there it is. I'm missing it. Okay. And this, of course, is running the Queen Mary plugins that you can download off the Nutcracker page, or you can go to the Queen Mary plugin page. Done. And there's the bars. Okay. All right. What else haven't we covered? We talked about backup, haven't we? Someone say yes or no. Yes, all right, we did all of that. So we'll move on. Tools. We talked briefly about test. We haven't done convert. To be honest, I'll do convert if someone wants to send me something to convert. It's not something I do anything of. We talked about exporting models. We haven't talked about scheduling because none of us actually schedule. Views. Do we talk about perspectives? No. Okay. So look, the concept of perspectives is your Windows layout. Right. So this is pretty much the default layout. There's actually no point having those icons. Those icons all live up here. I've got rid of the house model because I'm running on a laptop and I've only got one screen. I can stretch this down a little bit so maybe I can see a little bit more of these things. And then I say, you know what, that's how I want my screen laid out. Maybe I want to tear something off and put it on another monitor. It's all good. I go up to the view, I go to perspectives, and I say save current or save as new. And I save as new and I say that's my laptop layout. And click OK. Yep, I do. And I can go back up here and choose a different perspective. Maybe I've switched. And I can move back to the default, which was how it originally was. Or I can go back up and say, no, actually I want to go back into my laptop view. And it lays all the windows back out according to. So that's what a perspective is. Every now and then people will complain that they've lost their windows. There's a couple of things down here like dock all and reset defaults, etc. There's also a perspectives things here which lets you actually see the perspectives. Although it obviously hasn't put my laptop one in. I think if I shut it down and restart it, will show up. But yeah, you can also go to Windows and reset to defaults, and it moves everything back to their default location as well. So if you ever lose a window, you can't find it, you've taken your sequence from your desktop with its 26 monitors and you've gone to your laptop and you can't find any of your windows, doing a view and reset to defaults will at least bring them all back and you can relay them out however it is that you might like it. Audio. I think we talked about the ability to play it at different speeds. As you slow it down, the pitch gets lower. It becomes quite hard to listen to at a quarter speed. But when you're doing detecting when a particular beat occurs, or when a word is, when you're doing the Papagayo type breakdown, sometimes slowing it down helps. We also talked about scrubbing, which I was doing earlier, where you hold the control key down and you click and drag, which sounds pretty bad, but what it basically lets you do is to listen to the sound file very quickly by scrubbing across the waveform, and you can find a particular element in the song that you're looking for. So that's there as well. Import, so import, like I said, if we want to go one more week, we can cover an import. Maybe I'll try and bring one of Lilia's shows in and apply it onto mine or something and see whether I can show you some of the techniques there. Importing is quite an involved process. It's not a hard process, it's just an involved process. It requires you to try to work out how you want to represent that other person's show on your show. Obviously, XLights is really good at taking any effect and applying it to any model, but making it look good on your house can be a real challenge. I don't know, maybe we'll take one of Logan's, maybe Star Wars or something, and see if we can make that work on my house. What else have we got? Settings. So sequence settings is basically takes you back to the wizard when you start a new sequence. So pretty much anything here. You can do things like change the duration of a sequence here. This is where you add your new timing marks, and data layers. So data layers is the way that you can bring in data from things like LOR and the like. The challenge with data layers is that you can bring them in and you can play them and you can write them out to the Falcon Pi player and all that sort of stuff, but you can't edit them. You can overwrite them, so you can overrule them in a particular part, but you can't edit them. Once again, I've never used LOR, I've never used import, but that's what it does. There's a bunch of settings around save. I think we talked all about this. I don't know if I talked about backup on launch, but right now, every time I launch XLights, it automatically takes a full backup of all of my XML files at the beginning of a session. So if the worst happens, I am never going to lose anything from when I start the session. And of course, every time you save, every 3 minutes at the moment, because down here, my auto save is set at 3 minutes. It's saving my backups, a backup of whatever I'm working on, even if I haven't saved it yet. So the chances of me losing something and not being able to get back to it are pretty minuscule. We talked about an alternate backup location. So this is how I can set an alternate backup location to be something like my Dropbox. And so when I do a file F11 or alternate backup, that will back it up to, say, my Dropbox or something. Rather than just into my show directory. So if you have another drive or something that you want to back it up onto, that can do that. The tool icon size lets you change the size of these icons. Grid spacing, again, I think that controls some of this layout stuff. You can play with this. None of this stuff's particularly important. Render mode is always go into erase mode. In canvas mode, it doesn't actually erase from frame to frame. I have no idea why anyone would use it. Some people have changed the setting and then wondered why everything looked weird, so leave it in erase mode. The effect assist window, if you remember when we were doing the pictures effect and every time we clicked on it, it would pop up a window, which was that drawing tool. If you don't want the effect assist window to pop up, then turn it to always off and it won't pop up. You'll have to go and ask for it. OpenGL, generally most people that have it on auto detect. Auto detect's not perfect. It doesn't always get it right, and so sometimes we ask people to move to different levels here. Pretty much everything should work on 1.x. It just will run a little bit slower. Not dramatically so, but some of the rendering will be a little bit slower, so it might be a little slower to update. And that's it. I'll reset toolbars. Sometimes when we make a change to the toolbars in a release, if we if we add an icon up here or something, like Gil added the paste icons up here, the next time we do the release, people load it up and they can't find the icons. Going up to settings, reset toolbars, will reset the toolbars, and the next time you start it, everything will be visible. Going across the toolbar, probably the last thing I'll do today. All these things are pretty straightforward. Selecting show directory is the same thing you did on the setup tab when we went here and we talked about it. We haven't done the setup tab, have we? That'll be next week too. That's when you set your show directory. We did cover that though. This is creating a new sequence, opening, saving. Render all. You really shouldn't ever need to do render all. Sometimes it does get its knickers in a knot and it kind of doesn't display things correctly, and clicking render all basically tells the whole thing to redraw everything and regenerate all of the data. It can take a bit of time. Generally speaking, you shouldn't need to do it, right? So if you're starting to do that, odds are you've got a layering problem rather than a render all problem, but even I click on it sometimes. Notice up here, render on save, I don't have it checked. Until it's time for you to do your save for an F sequence file that you're going to send to your Falcon Pi player, you don't need this turned on. All it does is slow down your saves. Turn it off. You don't need the FSCQ file. The data will get generated when you load your show each time. You don't need to do that. And then when it comes time to generate the data so you can copy it up into your Falcon, turn it back on then and save it. Otherwise, it can take a long time. The paste by time and paste by cell, this just controls how, when you're doing cut and paste down here, whether it expands effects out to fill the cells or whether it just copies the time and things like that. These are your audio controls. These bring it back and show or hide the various windows that are down here. This one here, zoom in and zoom out. Control how zoomed in you are on a particular part of your song. Your settings, that brings your sequence settings up. There you go, I didn't know that. And then these things over here control whether or not you're actually sending data to your lights. So if you've gone to the trouble of setting up all of your controllers on here, and you come over here and you click on the, go away, and click on the output to light so that it's lit up yellow. And then if I was to grab my model here, and drag it down and drop it on, and my matrix happened to be connected, right now it would start to light up with the butterfly effect and it would work in real time. So anything that it would appear here will immediately be sent out to all of your fixtures. So you can have your models connected to your computer in real time, and as you sequence, you can see what it's going to look like on a particular element. What is a render? Okay, so the render is the process that takes the butterfly and turns it into all of this pixel data. Okay, you never really desperately need to use render all, but if you can't seem to get it to work properly and it doesn't look right, sometimes clicking a render all basically gets it to go back and reprocess all the effects and regenerate all the data, and cleans up any problems or anomalies that might have occurred. But generally speaking, it shouldn't happen. If it happens, it's a bug on our side. Does that overwrite a last backup or puts a new one? It never overwrites a backup. A new backup is always created. We err on the side of caution and keep giving you extra copies. If you can always go back and delete them if you don't need them anymore, but generally speaking, hard disk space is cheap. Most people have more hard disk space than they can use, and the backups aren't large. They're only the XML files, so they're a couple of 100 kilobytes at most. For each backup, and so we just generate lots of them. Since we've been doing this today, here's my backup folder. That's the number of backups. In fact, there's only 3 that have been generated. This was a save backup, and these on starts were the 2 times that I started, because remember it crashed at this one, and so then it generated another one when I restarted it. Any other questions? Did I miss any? Values, yeah, value curve sparkle. Value curve sparkle's interesting, only because the sparkles are actually not linear. If I take a red, yeah, red will do, and I start to apply sparkles, for most of the bottom half here, there's actually not that much change in the number of sparkles. See, I'm already at 158, and there's not a huge amount more sparkles than there were at 10. But as you get towards the end, you can see it just the last 10 or 20, it goes from almost all red to almost all white. And so when you set a value curve on sparkles for this effect, you really need to throw a few cycles in. What you really need to do is drop the amplitude right down and move the vertical offset way up. And when you do that, you can get that sort of differentiation. So you see there it is hitting the peak, and then it falls away again. Yeah, so using the whole spectrum here doesn't make a lot of difference.